And we're here. Hey everyone, thanks for hopping on today for this week's education session of elevating your proposal presentations, where we're going to walk through, right? We've done the discovery, we have found our clients, we have built our target profiles and ideal client profiles. And now it's time to put that little piece of paper on the desk saying, Mr. Client, it's time to get married. So, with me as always, guys, today we do have Alex Farling, the fantastic man behind what most would call our modern day QBR stuff. Hey, Alex, how you doing? Oh, Alex, I think you're muted. Oh, did I mute you? Hold on,
Maybe.
man. We're doing this live.
I was
There
gonna
we
say
are.
I unmuted myself, and then you've got your God mode over there. So just for that, I have to call you out because we're talking about getting married to our clients, but somebody else did something really big. Yeah, look at that. So we have a little theme going on here, right? This week we're doing proposals. In a couple of weeks we're doing some other related themes. So pay attention, folks. You're gonna see a lot of talk about what's going on in Kyle's personal life get woven in
It,
here.
it's like Lindsay had something on her mind.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you,
Let's
thank you,
get to our
and
special guest.
yeah, let's get to our special guest, guys. I'm really excited. This is someone that I've been real fortunate to work with quite a bit over the last, I don't know, 6, 7 months. And ultimately, he's definitely the one of the best sales focused owners of an MSP that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting and getting to know with. His name is Shawn Torres. He's the style and profile and limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, Rolex wearing son of a gun. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that, man.
And you know what, Shawn? I think, kind of going into it, I mean, everyone kind of knows at this point, they know who Alex and I are. And let's see if I can get my iPad working. But if you're new to this, I'm just a guy that's a little bit known as the MSP vagabond at this point, the MSP accountability officer. I'm the guy that's kind of just trying to get a feel for where this whole thing is going. I've been coaching and mentoring tech companies for the last 20 years. At the end of the day, I'm just someone that talks a lot. Let's be real. And Alex, who the hell are you sometimes?
I don't know, some guy trying to solve big problems. We'll see. First an MSP, then building a QBR platform, and now coaching MSPs on sales and account management and VCIO and all those things.
And let's be real, man. You built the modern process. Come on now.
It is a good
I don't know about
product.
all that. I led the community who helped us build it. That's what I did. I just sat around while a lot of smart people gave us feedback. But yeah, Sean's team is working with us with Lifecycle as well. So glad to have them.
Yeah, it's
Sean, how the
definitely,
hell did you
definitely a
get
good
here?
product.
Tell us a little bit about you, real quick, man.
I don't know, man. I still ask myself that every day when I wake up and come to work. So, I'm Shawn Torres. I'm a co-founder and CEO of In-Telecom. Kind of landed into MSP. Never had a background into tech. Self-taught myself everything off of YouTube and being hungry and wanting to solve problems. People ask me all the time, how the hell did I get into owning a successful managed service company? And I think it just boils down to hiring the right people, getting the right team around you, and really caring about solving the problems that you're trying to fix, understanding the client. And that's just what I think that I've done exceptionally well and been able to attract some success.
And I think you're extremely versed to be on this topic because I'm going to humble brag for you a little, Sean. Your guys' growth trajectory has definitely been 2 to 3 times what the industry normally sees. And what's even more beautiful, and I brag about you guys all the time, is you did it organically. You didn't do it through an M&A. It was literally blood, sweat, tears, and muscle. And the only way you're going to do that is by snapping necks and cashing checks.
Yes. Yes. I would agree, man. I mean, I think it's funny, and I didn't know that, right? I go to these conferences and I'm talking to these other MSP owners, and they're asking me, like, man, how the hell did you do this? How many companies did you buy? And, you know, how long have you been doing this? And I laugh because, I've literally been doing, true managed services for only about 4 years. So I feel like we're a young company. And then, we start talking revenue wise and what, some of these clients are doing from a, contract and project side, and it's like, whoa, like how long you been doing this? And they tell me 20 years, and I'm like, oh man, I think I would have quit or gave up at that point. And it goes to show that the community needs help understanding sales process and understanding how to stick to your guns when it comes to how to structure a contract. Because again, it's not easy. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to just structure this contract this way, and this is what I'm going to do. It's hard, it's definitely not easy.
No, and it's not easy, but at the same time, it shouldn't be gross. It shouldn't be like it's not that it's difficult in the sense of impossible or a lot of effort. It's more difficult in the sense of what we talked with about Adam Slutskin, Alex and I a couple weeks ago was it's at bats, it's effort, it's activity, right? Like it's not an effort of it's impossible or it's a pain in the ass, right? We just got to do it. You got to wake up every morning and pick up the damn phone and say, "Hey, do you want to give me money today?"
You gotta want it, man. I mean, I think sales is not it is a skill. It is a act of psychology, but at the same time, I also think that it really boils down to, are you going to want it? Are you going to get after it? Are you going to pick up that phone? And I know what it's like to sit there and look at the phone and how heavy it is to pick up. But at the same time, if you're not willing to do that and you're not willing to put yourself out there, then what can you expect to get back out of it?
Well,
You
and I
got to
think
take shots.
I think part of that is about too a mindset, right? As MSPs, our mindset is fix client problems. And we don't come into the office thinking, I've got to fill the top of the funnel with 40 leads this month so that I can get to 8 or 10 appointments so that I can close 3 deals. Like it's just not the focus. And when it's not the focus, you fall into a little bit of that what gets watched gets done thing, right?
I would agree. And I think most individuals in the world today are so afraid to talk about money. And the biggest failure point that I see in the MSP market is they're afraid to talk about dollars. And I have clients or prospects tell me all the time, "Hey, Shawn, I don't want to pay this much." Well, you can't hire the employees that we employ. And the reason we're able to pay the good salaries to the engineers and the people that can actually fix your problems is because you have to pay a rate. I mean, it's not. I've been doing this, for 4 years, and I've learned very quickly it is so easy to write a bad contract in MSP and be upside down fast. So I think learning your margins early in and not being afraid to like don't discount yourself. Like at the end of the day, I think that's the most important piece is that if you're going to make investments in your business and in your company, you got to charge the rates to do it. Um,
Well, it's funny, Dan Sullivan, he's a real good thought leader on how to do fast growth really quickly. And what a lot of talks about is you have to get to a point as an entrepreneur to where rather than being the seller, you need to be the buyer, even when you're selling something, right? Because a seller has something to lose, where a buyer has only things to win. And you have to get to a point to where you are buying clients essentially, right? You're not selling to them. You are saying, I am willing to take you on because you're willing to pay a rate that feeds my business from a economy of scale perspective. But beyond that, it's able to sustain your margins to meet your financial goals. So when you're in a B2B world, exactly, Shawn, we can't be afraid about talking about money and we can't be afraid about not negotiating on price because we build our own economic engines to
the P,
support what we are trying to deliver.
the P word's not bad, right? Profit is a thing, and it's interesting. We just closed a large deal out in California recently, and I literally pulled the margin up in front of the client and said, "Hey, man, like here's my margin, here's the number. Like I'm not going any lower than that. I gotta get paid, man. Like I gotta eat." And like my sales director was on the call with me, and he was like, "Man, you did that so smooth to just show him." But like, it's not a secret. Like I'm not a nonprofit. Like I'm here to make
Well, and
money.
he runs a business too, right? Your customer
Right,
runs a
right,
business. Hopefully, he follows his P&L. He knows what a contract costs him.
right.
There is some value in being able to look that customer in the face and say, I'm making a fair margin on this deal, which means I will be here tomorrow and the day after to provide you with service, and I'll be able to afford the good people, the good products. We'll be able to deliver a service that keeps you safe. And we'll be here for the long haul to do it. And that's all about making margins. If you go out of business, what happens to him?
Right.
Literally, the next video I'm putting on my YouTube is the difference between markup and margin because we get so
Mm.
confused on this entire topic where we think margin is something that you have variability in when you don't. Margin is a fixed asset in your business because if I don't maintain this margin, I can't pay my office staff, I can't pay my PSA bill, I can't pay anything, right? It's the markup on top of the margin that you have variability in, right?
Well,
That's your
what is
wheel
what
and
is
dealing.
right? When you break the dollar down and you really start looking at it, like how are you going to invest back in your staff and pay for education? It's not free. Like that costs money. So if I'm just going to service you and break even, I have no way to continue to evolve as a tech company. And your company's going to evolve and need me to invest in our staff. Like
Oh,
in
good
good
employee
clients.
culture is a cash flow element. It is a financial strategy. It is not something that is like this subjective, esoteric. It's just going to happen.
Well, and good God, what's evolving faster right now than cybersecurity? Like, you have to invest back into education. Your people, everything they knew last week is old already.
Yep.
Like, it's
Hmm.
literally changing that fast.
And what's funny is, right, this is all topical because at the end of the day, we're talking about the art of the presentation right now, right? Exactly what we are doing. Just right, your example, Shawn, about the RV dealership, right? That's part of things you need to be prepared about to talk when you show them the price and you show them the bottom dollar. They're a business owner as well. They're concentrated on their own budgets and bottom line. You got to expect you're going to have this conversation. They're not going to care about your widgets. They're not going to care about the
Absolutely.
doohickeys, right? They
Well,
expect
and
us
I
to
think
be nerds.
yes, and I think when you're getting into that proposal piece, and it's so funny over the years, I've watched so many sales reps. They walk in the room and they like sit there for a minute and look at the prospect, and like there's some small talk, and like you could watch body language and behavior, and they like slide that piece of paper in front of them and like get to like, all right, you want to talk about the money? Like, like they'll start talking about all this fluff, and like the owner just grabs the paper and flips right to the back and goes right to the number. Like, you might as well just write a piece of number on a piece of paper and say, like, hold it up with a number and like, here's what it is. Like there's no reason for it. It's sometimes, and it's look, it's experience. I've done so many deals over the years and working with clients and understanding that. I mean, I was not good at first. I've been that same sales rep sitting there terrified to ask this guy to pay me 20,000 a month. Like, oh my
So, what
God, it's
changed?
yeah, like
That's what I want to hear is what changed. How did it change?
I think what changed for me, man, is I've always been a big component of looking at my failure points and what did I do wrong. I never made excuses for myself on why I didn't get a deal or what happened. Lots of losses and trying to learn from every loss and really grasping what can I do differently the next time to give better value. Because if they told me I was too expensive, it wasn't that they're cheap. It was, well, man, I must have not provided enough value to get there. And what do I need to do next go round? Maybe I didn't truly understand their needs and provide a true ROI into their business that it made sense for them to spend the 20,000 a month. I worked on my confidence level, Alex. That was the main thing too. Is that I was always a confident person on the outside, but internally I wasn't. I was very insecure. I was broke. I'm building an MSP from the ground up. I don't know anything about this business. I have to trust what a tech that I'm paying tells me. Because if you ask me to fix a computer, I would be like, man, I have control delete. So,
Turn it off and back on
yeah,
again. Yeah,
turn it
yeah.
off, turn it back
But
on. You
but what
know,
you're saying lines up so well with what Kyle and I have been talking about for a few weeks now, which is that all of this is iterative improvement process. And I said maybe the week we had Adam on here, maybe the week before that I got to a point at my MSP where every deal that I lost, I knew it was my fault. And I knew if I sat down and dissected that call, I would figure out why, because we had a good process. And once you have a good process, it's literally iterate and run the play. And when you lose, go back and dig up your process and figure out where it failed you, because you get to a point where you're in an industry that is not full of super high competent salespeople. If we're up against the 10 known competitors in town and we lose, it's got to be something that we did wrong or something we could have or should have seen coming, and we've got to go figure out how to make sure that never happens again. And I just love that as you're talking about it, like it just gets a little better every time, a little easier every time.
yes,
So
it's a
with that, I do want to keep this on track because we have some fun role plays coming that's going to let us go through all of this stuff. Alex, I'm going to kind of let you go. Okay, why is this so important?
Well, I think what you get down to is at some point we have to take all the nerd words out of the conversation. So as we sit down and really put a presentation in front of a client, what we're looking for is how do I turn this into something that is about their business, that shows beyond the speeds and feeds and gadgets and widgets and things that we like to get into as MSPs that they don't care about. How are we going to use technology to better their business? And what they want to hear about is the customer up the street who had a similar problem, or it's not the first time we've seen this, and in the past how we've solved it is, right? They don't care about the nitty-gritty details or what vendors I'm using. What they care is that I was able to find a customer that was in a similar spot. I was able to walk that customer through my process, and when we walked away, that person was in a better place. So then we sit down with the customer to say, hey, you gave me a lot of your concerns. You told me a lot of the problems that you're having with your current IT. We've talked about your budget. It seems like we were able to solve for all of those things. Is there a reason we can't do business together today? It's a really easy thing to ask when you've already addressed, hey, we know what your pain points are. We know what your budget forecast looks like. We know what your decision-making process really looks like. We understand your risk profile and what you're willing to accept as risk and what we really need to fix. So that's where, collecting all that data early and knowing your game and understanding how you're going to present it, depending on who you're presenting to, is super important.
Well, and you said something key there, which I think a lot of us miss.
That was an
And I think
accident.
Shawn, right? You started, yeah, you started to go down this path, which is you have to listen to your clients. I mean, the worst thing you can do, even from a psychological perspective, right, is someone to tell you something, and then you ask them a question again, or you ask it 2 days
Awareness,
later.
awareness, man. I mean, what I've learned and watched over the years with bad presentations and bad sales calls is like the awareness is like, people tell me like, oh man, can you help me with a script? Like, what script? I'm not script this. I'm not making a movie. I'm really talking to this person and trying to understand them. Like,
Well,
I'm
scripts are for
asking
cold
questions.
callers, right?
Right,
By the time
right,
they
right.
agree to talk to somebody else, you're done. You've got to, there's definitely
You
a
don't need
process, but
yes, you need a process, you need some key points and some understanding, but you don't need a script. You need to listen, you need to have a good awareness and understand like what's going on. They will tell you, most clients when you're talking to them will tell you the answer without even knowing that they're telling you the answer. And I'll watch people just go right past it and say, "Oh, well, did you not hear that? What they just said?" And it's difficult. And again, it's like Kyle said a minute ago, it's at bats, man. Like if I want to get good at golf, I got to swing the golf club. If I'm going to be good at sales, I got to go run meetings. And if you're running 2 meetings a week, you're never going to get good ever. Like
Well,
the odds of it are it's going to be
most
tough.
MSPs run one a month. So I mean,
Yeah,
think about that, right?
yeah, 10 a week, 10 a week if you want to be successful. 10 a week.
and think about this: if you go to any traditional sales coach and you sit the Sandler or whatever the big one is that you go to, the first thing they tell you is the 80-20 rule. You talk 20% of the client time. The client talks 20%. Yeah, I can't fucking talk today, right?
80.
80-20. The client talks
Yes.
80% of the time. I talk 20% of the time. And Shawn, it was kind of funny. I'll share a little anecdote. What did I write on your paper on Monday when you and I were hanging out?
Wait.
And what did it stand for?
I'm trying to remember exactly what it stands for. Why am I talking?
Yep.
It's
And
funny. I'm a
I
talker.
literally
You
did
know
that.
that, right?
I literally do that on my papers if I ever go to a sales. I write weight on it because I know that this is my tool when I'm doing discoveries, right? Like this is the thing that I need to make sure is sharp because I have to be able to pick out all the things my client says for as we're going to show when we get into the proposal situation. Those are the things I need to talk about because at the end of the day, your client cares about one thing. And that one thing is I have a problem. Can you fix it?
Yes, 100%. And every problem's different for every organization, so you can't write a script for that. Like they all have similar issues at some point, but you're right. I mean, you can't. You got to listen and hear it out and know where you can't oversell. That happens all the time too, Kyle. As you walk in and we have all these widgets and we have all these things that we want to sell them, and we're just like, let me show you my bag of tricks and let me talk to you about my MDR. Like they don't care. They don't even know what MDR is. They don't care.
And they don't
Like
care. Yeah.
they want to continue to do what they do. If you're selling to a CPA firm, they want to go do people's taxes and they want to be able to get into their systems and know that their files are there. And what is the impact if they lose them? That's all they care about. You talking to
Mm.
them about your cybersecurity, MDR posture, and all this mess. It does none. It's all nonsense. Like it's they
They
don't care
expect
about.
us to be nerds.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I say
Well,
that,
and
like the client is
but that's
coming
why
to
they're willing
you.
to buy from the guy. That's why they're willing to buy from the guy that's not, right? They're so used to the guy who wants to come in and talk about MDR and XDR and EDR and some other DR that we don't know about, and they're used to talking to that guy. And then a guy like Shawn sits across the table from him and speaks English, and they go, "Oh crap, that's what I need. Like I need to buy that." And that's a big part of this is learning to leave the nerd words behind.
It's so true. We talked to a client yesterday, and it was funny. They were literally positioning, trying to sell them a cloud based server, and I sat in the room, and they were saying, "Oh no, they don't want to go cloud. They're not going to go cloud. They want to buy a physical." And I'm like, "What? Who would even buy a physical server anymore? Like, are you serious? Like, tell them no, they can't." So I went and met with the director, and she literally brought it up and said, I'm thinking cloud server. Kia is saying we need to go on-prem server. What do we need to do? And I'm like, well, first of all, why would you ever buy a cloud server? I mean, an on-prem server with cloud today? And she's like, well, we realize like going to the cloud is super expensive. I'm like, is it? Like, I think it's more expensive to not go cloud. Like, if you ran the numbers on lifecycle management and you're going to have to replace this thing in 3 to 5 years anyway, and we're going to be doing the same song and dance again, or we can just put you in the cloud, put you in a good system. We don't have to touch it. We don't have to think about it. We can expand it as we need to. We can utilize, it as needed. Like, let us structure you the right way. And then she literally looked at me and said, well, your guy was here and he was talking too technical to me. Like, she didn't want to talk tech. Like, she
Yep.
wanted to understand like the reality of it was a financial conversation. And we all dance around the financial conversation of the reality of the fact that the reality is you're gonna have to go spend more money again in the next 3 to 5 years. Do you really want to do that? We got to bring the company down. Like, what's downtime worth? Like, all these things that happen.
Well,
So
you can even go the entrepreneur route, right? Like if you're talking to an owner of, right? Steve Jobs wore black t-shirts every single day because he wanted to get away from decision fatigue. Right? Anytime I can eliminate one decision, Mr. Customer, that you have to make, that is one less conversation we have to have. Therefore, you can be spending more time working on your business. Would you like to have another conversation in 3 years to go back and forth on why you need to buy another server?
that's the question I ask, Kyle. You just said it there, right there. And I always ask that question to people when I'm talking in the beginning. Do you want to work on your business? Like, is that what you want to do? Like, because if you don't want to work in your business, I'm not a good partner for you anyway, because you're not trying to grow and you're not going to ever adapt the technology, and we're just going to fight with each other. So there's no point in us moving forward. Right out the
Well,
rip.
One of my account managers used to look a customer right in the face and go, "It seems like I care about your business more than you do.
I say it all
That
the
we're going to
time.
have a problem here, right?" And it was
I say it all
great.
the
And
time.
when he said it, he would catch me off guard every single time because as many obnoxious things as I would say, that's never one that came out of my mouth. But when he would say it every time, I'd go, "Yep, that's about right."
Well, the reality is, God, you know this, and I use this analogy all the time. Nobody goes in business to save money. Everybody goes in business to make money. And if you're running a business, and every business owner, every general manager, every executive leader, most people know that you're going to have to spend money in your business. And I will tell you, the more money that I've invested in my company, the faster I've grown. So, like,
Yep.
again, whether if you're investing in people, technology, process, good coaches, whatever it may be, that is going to help elevate your business. And you have to be able to explain that to the client. Because you're right. Why am I going to invest? The term that I've said is, why am I going to invest in your business if you're not? Like, that makes no sense.
ooh,
I love that. I
I
love
like
that.
that one.
That might be the mic drop moment of this webinar.
Well, it's funny because like sometimes, right, I try to be like the CFO in the room. I always akin it to I am your economy of scale, right? I am not. I need to go hire another IT guy because my IT director is now saying that he's overworked, right? Like if we think about it financially, IT sits in an operations expense account, right? That is where it sits. And most of the time, if I go hire it, it's going to be 9 to 10% of my revenue. You come to an MSP, even if I charged you $300 a user a month, I'm still only going to barely touch $6 or 6%.
And I think
So that's
educating.
investment. That's
No, no,
margin
no.
increase.
You can't tell me. I mean, no client is ever going to tell me that they can go hire an internal staff and it's more cost effective because you're still going to need a partner. Why do you hire a CFO and you still hire an accounting company or CPA to do your taxes? Why? Like, because it doesn't make sense for your internal person. Even if you have an internal person, you should have some form of co-managed, co-mingling. What if that guy quits? I mean, I use the term all the time. It's nice about hiring me over an internal guy. And these owners look at me and they're like, what? I'm like, I got a lot of money and you could sue me if I screw up. How are you going to sue him? You're paying him. Like, I mean,
I'm
it's
not sure I
real
want to
though. Like
advertise that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but Alex, like it's the reality of the fact they should have both. That's the biggest problem is
Yeah.
people look at his IT as an expense, but let me go and plug your main router and let's see how much income you get to make.
Well, and
You're going to make money.
let's talk about that finance comparison, right? You have a bookkeeper and a CFO. Neither one of those is a tax expert, and that's because tax is complicated, finance is complicated, and there are individual roles in that job. At my MSP, I have a cybersecurity team, I have a help desk team, I have a backup management, somebody who does backups and just manages and monitors your backups, right? We have specialists in each of these roles because a jack of all trades is not realistic in our space anymore. It'd be like
No.
asking your bookkeeper to do your taxes and you're going to get audited and you're going to fail. In cyber, when you get audited and fail, you get breached and you wind up in the news. That's what it looks
Yes.
like.
Yes. And you can't have the individual. Not one person is going to be a Swiss Army knife and know every single component of how
Not anymore.
complex IT is. No, no way, impossible.
Well, right. And beyond just knowing our audience, and I know we're not verbatim going through these slides for those that are watching, right? The whole idea is you really need to tailor this to who you're talking to. That's really what we're trying to get to, right? Bringing this all back in is if you did not do the discovery, if you did not do the ideal client profile exercise, if you were not prospecting for people that are actually qualified to buy your service or product, then getting to this point of presentation, you're just wasting your time. Like you are literally just sitting there hoping to fail. You have lost the strategy now to even get the deal signed because when you go into the proposal situation, the only thing you have to lean on are all the bullet points and doohickeys and widgets that you have to sell the client,
Or
right? You have
price.
lost that opportunity. Yeah, and then the only thing you have to negotiate on is price.
That's where you fail every time. You can't. So many people, and our sales process, Kyle. And we go from first base to second base to third base, and we did it like a baseball triangle to help people understand that like every sales rep wants to go from first base to third base. Oh, you want IT? All right, let me go get you a quote. Like hold up, like let's have a conversation here to make sure you're even financially fit for what we want to do. And I want to know that you're committed before we even put a number in front of you. I want to understand, like, are you going to listen to me? Are you going to take my advice? Are we going to make investments in what we're doing before I come put a number in front of you? And I've had people
Or are
say,
you
oh,
going
well,
to
Shawn, I need the number to know what next steps are. Why? Like the number doesn't
Right.
matter because I'm gonna be able to understand what the number is if you don't do this and if you don't make these changes and and again that's the difference.
Well, and
So
you got to figure out, are they the customer who's just going to take your number and run down the street, or and see if they can get it for $2 cheaper from the guy up the street, or are they really looking for a partner who's here to help them solve the problem? So if you
because if they're
can't have
just
the
getting
number conversation with them, yeah, they're just kicking tires.
they're just getting pricing and they're going to make a decision based off pricing. And I would just say, well, cool, here's a number, I'll give it to you, but there's no reason for us to even meet. There's no reason for me to survey your facility. Don't waste my time. Don't have me spend all my hard-earned money. I want to go work with somebody that actually wants to have a conversation. I want to interview my. Kyle said it. I want to buy my customer. I love that, man. I never thought about it like that, but it's true, man. I want to make sure I'm ready to work with you. Like, this is a two-way street. This
Yep.
is a partnership.
Well,
We
if
don't
you
do
want to
one
build the
night
scale,
stands.
right? Like
We're
we
not
had
looking for
Wes
one
on a
night stands.
totally
We
right.
want to
We
get
we
married.
were we were on the call with Wes a few weeks ago, and we talked a lot about how you have to mature your clients as you grow because there's going to be things where you find clients you like to deal with, but they may have different challenges and risks that you have to manage. And I don't remember who told it to me, and I'm definitely stealing this. And I'm just going to repeat it of there's three real personas when it comes to technology buyers. There's the first person that understands this is, the ideal client of technology helps me grow my business. It is a catalyst to make things more efficient. It is a catalyst to be where my clients downstream want to experience. The second is where that persona, this individual, it's more of it's a necessary evil. I don't really like technology, but you know what? We're in the 21st century and everyone has phones and everyone's got technology. I don't like it because it costs me a lot of money, but I just got to do it, right? The third, and I think what you're talking about right here is the guy that just fishes for price. They hate technology. To them, if they could go back to pen and paper, if they could go back to bankers' boxes of storing all their financial records, they would do it tomorrow. And right now they are being told that, hey, you can't do that. So to them, right, it's going straight for price.
And
Most doctors.
it's often the ones who somebody's forcing them there, right? It's the doctor who was forced into EHR or
Doctors.
medical records, or it was the insurance
Doc,
company who was forced into, or the insurance broker who was forced to
yep.
use all the insurance company systems and those kind of things. I mean, the ones I still have PTSD from my MSP days. There's a reason. Like you can look at each one of them and go, "Yep, somebody forced him to technology and he didn't want to be there."
Because that should be the first question in the beginning stages. And Kyle said it. Do you get technology? Do you like technology for your business? Do you feel like it's a we have another large opportunity we're working right now. They're coming in the office tomorrow, and I asked the CEO. I said, hey, do you want and have to use technology? How important is it to your business? And the CEO, we're in there talking all this mess, and the CEO goes, Shawn, it's critical. Without it, we cannot operate. That let me know right there that he's invested into technology in his business. And it's so
Well,
critical.
and I think kind of like this journey, right? And we're kind of walking everybody through a journey of how a proposal works. And you guys may not realize that we're even doing this, but you have to be confident at the end to ask for the deal, right? You have to be confident at the end of when I give you this proposal and I show you why, and I show you all the points that we talked about, and I show you, you told me this, I have a solution, I can help you. You can't leave it on the vine, right? You have to go there and say, when would you like to start? It's not a yes or no. It's a, I meet your budget, I meet your needs. When do we start? Like at that point, the only reason they should say no is because, Shawn's too good looking.
Well, you may get, I need to go back and speak to my board, right? Again, if someone tells me that, that tells me right off the rip that I didn't understand their buying terms and how they operate in the beginning. So when I'm in my second stage of sales, I did not ask the right questions to get an understanding on how they make decisions. So now when I go to the next meeting and I'm sitting there and I'll say, well, hey, the next time you bought a product or service like this, how did the decision making process go? And you should understand the decision making process before you're presenting proposals. And that's the biggest hang up that people make mistakes on. They
Or
don't
don't be afraid
understand.
to say, can I present to your board?
Exactly. I don't want anybody else selling my product for me. Like, how are you going to present to the board? What are you going to do? You're going to go there and put the paper in front of them? Like, and they're going to pick one? Does that
Well,
mean you're
right,
going to
and
pick based on number?
they're going to
Like,
ask you a bunch of tough questions. Do you feel prepared to answer those, or would you like me to come stand in front of you and play meat shield so you don't have to field those questions, right? And that's exactly what I'm
absolutely.
going to ask, right? It sounds like there's another decision maker in here that I wasn't initially aware of. Would you like me to go take their slings and arrows so you don't have to? Because this is a complicated conversation, especially if one of them has a nephew that's into nerd stuff and has prepped them to ask some tough questions, right?
Yes.
And nobody's going to say no to you on that. They're going to go, come on, board meeting's at 4:30, let's go, and they're going to drag you in there.
So
I've
we
presented in front
prepared a
of
little
boards
bit
and
of a
town
game.
councils, and you name it.
So real
Yeah.
quick, I want to keep us on track because we have about 20 minutes left. We prepared a little game. And this is, I think one of the things that Alex and I talked about, I don't remember what session, was you got to prepare for this, right? You need at bats. We've even said it today. And there is ways in your business to get at bats without having the client lined up. And one of the most common techniques you see in any sales organization are role plays. It is the act of, I am the buyer, you are the sales rep. Let's see how you would close this deal. And one of the things that I kept thinking back is my time in retail when I was doing a lot of turnarounds was we had these persona sheets. We had the Barry, the Mary, the Jeff, the Steve, and they all had these little facts about them. And it was, how would you approach them? How would you have a conversation with them? And how would you ask for the deal or present the solution to their problem? And so what we built, and everyone that's on this call is going to get them, we actually have personas built out for you with lead sheets and role play sheets that you can do with your team to just get practice. And I'm not going to lie, guys. And Shawn, you probably remember this from back in the day as well. It's awkward as hell to do role plays in the beginning.
It sucks.
Oh, it's
There's no
terrible.
part. It's
No,
terrible. Yeah.
no one enjoys it. But I mean, I'll tell you what's more terrible is being in a meeting and never being able to close a deal. Like it's mentally draining as a sales professional. And if you're not willing to practice your trade and get uncomfortable with your peers, then why are you doing that job? Like, why do
Well,
you?
and Do you think Michael Jordan enjoyed running suicides, right? But you got to do it, right? And this is the sales equivalent of running your wind sprints, running your suicides, like going out
Right.
and doing the hard work, so that on game day you can perform.
Well,
You
and
have to embrace the stuff.
I want to put this back in the MSP seat that's watching right now. You all asked for proof of concepts. You all asked for labs. You all asked for trial environments. This is your trial environment. This is your lab, right? Right now, you may think I don't need to do role plays. No, you do need to, and you actively ask for it in the channel space.
Well,
So,
you're
right,
either going to role play and screw up in front of your colleagues, or you're going to do it in front of your prospects, right? So either burn a good prospect or look like a knucklehead in front of your colleagues. Like pick one. And
And
so
those are
even
your
if you,
choices.
I think that situational awareness, Kyle, too, is critical, man. And like the more you do this, and the more situations you get thrown at you, like I love role playing with a team member, and like they'll try to like stump me and just keep throwing negative objections at me, and it's fine. Like sometimes those objections are just never going to win. Like sometimes you just don't win, and that's okay too. Like you have to know when to stop and be able to look at the prospect and say, you know what, there's no time, there's no reason for us to talk. You don't see value in this. We're not going anywhere. Look, if you're ready to make
Your
a
mind's already
decision in the
made up.
future,
Yeah.
yeah, like move on, like move next, like next, like it just you have to do that. And so and salespeople love to smoke hopium, and they're hoping that you're going to get this right. It's like
I'd never heard that one. That's good.
like just let it go. Like just move on and lose the deal. Tell your manager it didn't work out. Learn where you made mistakes and try on the next one. Like it's Michael Jordan lost games all the time, and he looked at film and he figured out why he lost and he moved on. Like it just
it,
losing's okay. Like it's not a
well,
bad thing.
it's and there's a video I posted about it. Everyone should probably go watch it, which is the act of resilience comes through decreasing cortisol in your brain to get rid of the fight or flight response. So there's actually a nerdy reason that this happens, because cortisol is going to make you run away. It's going to make you scared as shit, right? You've developed it over time because a lion was about to eat your ass. So the only way to decrease that is to see that lion every single day and go, that fucking lion is back again. Why? Like, now I need to figure out, the problem isn't that I saw it. Now the problem is I need to get it from stop coming every single day. So what we built is essentially a little bit of a game here, where we have 5 personas that we commonly see in the MSP space of potential buyers of services. Now, these may not all be your client profile, right? We talk some of these, for example, right? Like the large IT manager, Irene, might be someone that you aren't prepared to service. But right, these are the people, as you prospect, like what we talked with Adam Slutskin, these are the people you're going to run into. And what we thought would be fun is to actually do these role plays kind of live. Not kind of live, but to do them live. So we're going to start with you, Shawn. Who do you want to take a whack at first?
You know, I got a meeting with one of my guys today with an IT director. So I would definitely have to say Irene for sure.
Okay.
It'll get me some practice.
So with Irene, right, before we even go to her sheet and kind of what she's looking for, like just knowing that you're interfacing with an IT manager and knowing your audience and knowing you got to present to them, what are the first things that pop in your head, Shawn?
You know, when I'm working with an IT director, I realize that their brain is immediately in defense mode, and they're in fear that I could take their job from them. So the first thing that I'm doing when I come in to present is I'm going to focus mainly on how I'm going to benefit them. And I'm going to focus the conversation all around them and how they're going to be able to take all the credit for everything that we do and everything we help them with and be able to run it up the chain. And I'm just going to focus on that and that only, because I think that's the most important piece when selling to an IT director is if you start coming in and explaining or making them feel like they don't know what they're talking about, even though they might, who cares? We're there to make them look good. So that's all I'm focusing on is them. And how we're going to partner and how we're going to work together and how I'm going to give you some systems and we'll be able to take years of process that we have sitting around and be able to embed that into you. And you're going to look like a rock star. You're going to go to your boss and you're going to get a raise. You're going to ask for more money. You know, I'll be able to give you transparency and understanding of what you need to look at. I mean, I'm going to dig deep there. Always.
Well, and let me tell you some stuff about Irene. So her company has 250 employees. And really why they reached out and why you had the call, what you discovered was their big goals were to minimize downtime, they want to enhance some efficiencies, and they want to empower their employees because the challenges they have right now are managing vendors, the technical updates that are coming fast, right? A lot of 0-day stuff, a lot of cybersecurity. Irene doesn't have only has so much time to be the generalist or the jack of all trades, and that's really what she's faced against. So does that change anything at all?
No, I mean, again, I think I'm going to stay focused on making her look good, getting a better understanding of how we partner together. When I'm presenting back to her, obviously we know her challenges, we know where her risk is. At the end of the day, I'm going to help you keep your job. How about that? I'm gonna make you look good because if you get hacked, they're going to fire you like immediately. Like just know that. Like it happens
You are the
all the time.
scapegoat. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are the
As
scapegoat.
soon as they get hacked, what happens? Oh, fire the CIO, fire the cyber guy, like fire him. Like, oh, like really? Like, I think as a CEO, you have to maybe even ask yourself, were you making the right investments and asking the right questions in your company?
So
So
Irene does ask though, right? We already have an in-house IT team. I'm not really sure what value an MSP can add at this point.
So I think I'm getting directly into explaining the fact that we understand that you have a direct IT team. I would have to understand from a specialist standpoint, do they have the specialization in the areas that are required? There's obviously a reason that we've had conversation. Why do you have the cyber risk today? Why does it exist? Why is it there? Irene, help me understand more about how your reporting looks. How do you manage your team? So, do you have the proper ways to manage your team today? And how do you know if you're holding them accountable or not? I was in a situation recently, in a very similar situation, where a company had an IT director and a team, Irene. And what I recognized is they had no way to hold the team accountable because what were the metrics they were measuring them to? And do you have the KPIs to give better visibility into your IT department? What we're going to do as an organization is we're going to take our specialty and our 20 plus years of managing metrics and hundreds of companies that we're managing and take all that expertise and we're going to narrow that down for you and we're going to put a rocket on the back of your IT department and we're going to accelerate you. So now when you go back to your executive team and you're explaining the changes, we're going to give you the ammunition for you to have the conversation with your team and show what you're doing and show how important it is so they don't cut your IT budgets because it's
So
very common for CEOs to cut IT budgets.
Irene thinks that's great, but she's kind of hearing that she might lose control of their systems and data then.
Oh, absolutely. And Irene, I would definitely understand how you feel about that because we're coming in, you're releasing some responsibility to us. But I would also want you to understand that we are your partner. We're going to help you understand you're going to remain in control. You're going to have complete visibility of what's going on. We'll have those quarterly strategy reviews to help you come in and understand what's happening, what changes are there. We're going to give you the visibility reports and know that when you go in and are speaking to your executives, the main concept that I've seen and where most IT directors fail is they have a hard time creating a budget, having to understand to sell the items that are needed and that are in dire need in the organization, and they miss the mark. And that's what we're going to help you do. We're going to help you do that. So don't just think about tools and all these products and services that we're bringing on. We're bringing the processes to you that are going to help you manage the department well.
So what's funny about that, and just so everyone can kind of see on how Sean's line of logic kind of worked, is right for each of these, we did have three objections that we kind of outlaid. And Sean, without you even realizing you did it, the third one, what if service isn't flexible enough to cater to our specific needs? You basically answered it in one fell swoop, right? And this just kind of shows how repetitions get you to the point where you tackle the next objection without even realizing you do it.
Well,
Now,
because you
to
know
go
you,
even
you know it's going to go there, Kyle. We know that, man. You
Oh
know.
yeah, totally. And
And
Alex,
and this is the
I almost
conversation I've been having forever, right? If you're getting objections, you need to go back and dissect them and figure out how you got them and figure out how to beat the objection before it gets there.
I was just going to
Um,
ask you for these three, Alex. How do you think in a discovery process, you or the proposal, you would have beat this?
Well, before the proposal, I think with somebody like this, the one thing I would have done that Shawn didn't mention is just offer to let this in-house IT director talk to another in-house IT director that we work with, right? Hopefully we've got somebody else in a similar role, and I'm going to make an introduction and go, hey, go talk to this person, see how we work with them, see how we've enabled efficiencies over there, see how we've been able to get them better visibility into their systems and their processes, and help them understand what winning looks like. Because often when we come in and take over for a small IT shop, or a small internal IT shop, they don't have patch statistics. They don't know where the 0 days are. They don't know where the bodies are buried. So once we start to give them visibility, now they see and understand what to point their resources at, and just become a more efficient shop internally. Plus, they get all of our resources to lean back on. But I'm giving them a real world example. Here's somebody you can speak to who we already do this with, and that's helping them realize I'm not here for your job. In fact, Tom across town, I set him up with a similar experience, and we've been working with him for a year and a half. Tom's still there. He's thriving. His life is easier. He sleeps better at night. He gets to go to more of his kids' baseball games. Go talk to Tom. Right. And I'm doing that before we ever get to the presentation, so that when we walk in, my question is going to be, did Tom leave you with any questions I need to address? Right.
So I think, Alex, I'm going to kick it to you to kind of take the
Yeah.
next one. Who do you want to go for?
I really like these tech startup founders because I know it's going to be somebody who's stuck in G Suite, like all of us little tech startup guys, and I know there's going to be a lot of pushback and a lot of craziness. So let's go with Faye.
You're going to go with Faye. Okay. And,
I'm
and,
going to go
and
with
kind of
Faye. It's a
keep,
mistake. This is going to be a tough one, but we'll see how it goes.
so with Faye, right? Like, what is your, like, it's a tech startup, right? Because your BDR, right, has already introduced you, like, hey, this is what we have on them. You've gone to their website, you know the company, right? You do a little bit of research. You had your discovery call. Faye is 30 years old. It's a tech startup with 30 employees, and she has a very high, strong tech background, right? If you found a tech startup, you kind of already said it. You know what you're walking
Yep.
into.
Yep.
And really, her big goal is to scale fast, innovate, and they want to stay lean, right? With this,
Mhm.
so I almost went into right there some analysis, and I shut up.
Uh-oh.
But right there, what's running through your head, Alex?
Well, my initial thought is that a 30-person tech startup with a tech-focused founder probably has already done a lot of their own tech in-house. They've probably got the business this far by going out with a credit card, swiping it on a bunch of websites on the internet, and buying themselves some Confluence and some Jira and some G Suite, right? And it's probably not configured right. None of it probably talks to each other, but they've gotten themselves this far, using this. I mean, this is a 30-year-old. They're younger than us. They're faster than us. They were born online. They're not going to stop and come ask somebody to bring in a server and configure it for them and get their line of business app set up. So they're probably already halfway down the road, and we probably have to back up and talk about systems and efficiencies and how things work, to learn what they've deployed incorrectly along the way, or maybe deployed inefficiently along the way is the better way to say it, to figure out how we can add value to what they already have, while continuing to maintain and support and secure.
Well, and there's some challenges with Faye. They have a limited budget.
Of
They're
course.
extremely agile because they're still figuring out their product market fit. And they are also in a compliance space because of the data that they secure. So, talk me a little bit through on how you would approach a proposal, with Faye.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about, compliance and protecting and supporting that data, making sure that we're doing the right audits. Part of my proposal is going to be CIO services to make sure that we can meet their compliance needs and things like that. So we're going to make sure that we lean heavy into that, but leave them in a place where they understand that, once we get through with it, we're going to provide them with compliance reporting that actually helps them go to market, to be able to say, we've done SOC 2 or we've done CMMC or whatever the compliance requirement is, so that as they go to market, they can leverage that and show it off and say, hey, one of the reasons you should work with us is because we've done the hard work, we've done the heavy lifting, and we'll help them get there. So that's going to be a big chunk of the proposal, is making sure they understand we know and are comfortable with and can lean into compliance, and make sure that that becomes a superpower of their business when they go to market, instead of something that holds them back.
Well, Faye, she sees that situation and she really goes, "That sounds expensive. We have a limited budget, though. Like CIO, I'm not ready for a CIO."
Yep. And that's why we're going to sell fractional CIO services, right? They don't have to have a full-time CIO, but they do have to do what they have. They do have to check the boxes to get compliance done. And checkbox compliance, for the terrible phrase that it is, isn't going to get them there. They're going to have to deploy a real compliance framework, and they're going to have to take the baby steps through this. So while we can do it slowly over time, how quickly they need to get to market and how quickly they need to have some of that is really going to drive and impact the budget.
So, Faye likes that, but she understands. But there is a level to where I kind of think I just want IT for right now, because that's kind of our immediate need, is the flexibility and the scalability. Security is great, but this seems almost too much for our small company. Is that going to make us less flexible too?
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about flexibility because having IT done right gives you the ability to be flexible. Having IT done halfway is going to kind of back you into some corners. But ultimately, where we're at is a breach at this point in your business is going to put you out of business. Where protecting your clients, protecting your data might be a shift of some priorities and move some things around on a budget and will help you with budget forecasting along the way. But this is really going to be the thing that helps you drive the business forward and make money as opposed to struggling to earn a contract or something like that. Compliance could be the thing that keeps you from getting a contract and keeps you from landing the business.
And again, it happened again, right? Where with the profile we've built and in kind of leaning into, as like Shawn, right? You talked about, like, it's, you got to listen to their needs and you need to talk about their needs. You can't be talking about the doohickeys and widgets, right? Alex, you weren't talking about EDR endpoints. You weren't talking about, pen testing. You weren't talking about, oh, we're going to move you into AWS super platinum storage that is compliance based because that's what you need,
GCC high, here
right?
we come. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. All of that stuff wasn't the conversation. You went to, if you don't do this, you can't scale your business because you will probably have to be paying these crazy bills, or you might just not be bought anymore or even be sellable as a SaaS company because you don't check that box, or you might be just a giant lawsuit risk.
Yeah. And with SaaS companies, it's really interesting right now as they're getting funding and acquisition, they're going through cybersecurity audits. Like they're literally getting audited before an investor gives them cash. So, knowing some of that about a company really makes a difference.
Now, Shawn, I kind of want to kick it to you a little bit, right? In the discovery process, going back a little bit, right? Trying to be proactive and get to the objection before it's an objection. How would you have approached Irene or Faye, excuse me?
I
And
really would want to understand the growth trajectory of the company and really understand the financial data behind what they're trying to do and where they're trying to go. I think once you start to really understand an organization and how they make money, and does the technology make you money, it makes it much easier when you go back to present your proposal and have a better understanding of how much money they make per day, and then just say, if you were to get hacked, how long would you be down for, and how long would it take us to rebuild? I mean, hey, let's not even focus on the fact of your reputation. Let's just focus on the fact of what is it the daily cost of business cost you, and if you're down for 11 days, what does that cost? Like what is the impact to the business? And if you do have investors and you do have a board that you're reporting to, or say you have loans and debt you have to pay. Imagine something like this happening and your revenue going from, whatever it is to zero quick. So it is detrimental to understand that. And I think where sometimes we fail as sales professionals, we forget to talk about the financial data of the company we're working with. And like, we're just trying to understand how they make money. And if we shut it down, it's an easy one. Like I had a client tell me, I'm not paying you 45,000 a month for cyber. And I'm like, all right, well, hold up, let's talk, right? Like that was an immediate objection. And I get it, it's a lot of money, but I mean, you're also talking a $500 million company. So if I looked at the revenue and I went back to my team and I knew about timing, it was not a good time to try to close at that moment. And I went back to my team. I did some research. I got an understanding of how long it was going to take to get them back up if something was to happen. And it was about 12 days. I took 500 million divided by 365 times 12. And I put that number right in front of the owner. And I said, you can either pay this or you could pay this. What do you want to do? And he just sat there looking at me. I mean,
yeah,
it
the
And
recovery
you're
point
rounding
objective.
down. Yeah, and you're rounding down when you assume no cost for data breach per record. You're rounding
Right.
down when you assume no malware, no encryption malware, and no hackers to pay off or whatever.
Class action
You're giving them a
lawsuit.
bottom line number. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, class action. I met a guy that got hacked in an auto dealership, and an attorney caught wind of it and found out that they got hacked. Went on his social media, found all the clients that had bought cars there, called them all, and did a class action lawsuit. It cost them $700,000 to turn it down, and these people's information didn't even get leaked. Like, you want to talk
Wow.
about like that's where this is going though. And like, these are real stories. Like the guy that I was speaking at a conference, and a guy stood up in front of all these owners and like said, guys, he is not making this stuff up, and told his story. Like, everybody thought I paid this guy to say something. And like, I was like, I don't even know that guy. I have no clue who he is. Like, this is real. Like, these things happen. That was a first for me when I heard that story. And I was like, wow, like I never thought about that. We post all our customers on social media. It gets hacked. Attorney reaches out, again, like you said, Alex, it's not just about the cost of doing business. It's those ancillary costs that end up nailing you too, man. That end up in a
Yep.
bad place.
Well,
Yeah,
guys,
if you guys don't
we want.
follow it, oh, I
Go
got
ahead.
one more thing before you close up, Kyle. If you guys don't follow it, I'm putting a link in the chat. If you don't follow the Ponemon Institute, they have all the statistics around what the actual cost of a data breach is. It's a huge data set. They have really accurate records, or really accurate data that tells you cost per record. So you can sit down with a customer and say, how many client records do you have? Let's do the math and figure out what a data breach really would cost you. So there you go.
Well, guys, we won the deal. And join us next time. Alex and I are going to be going into the honeymoon phase of the client won the deal. What next? And a lot of the time in our channel, we talk about the sales to service handoff. Well, we're going to unpack that a little bit on what is the sales to finance to account management to service handoff process. And we've actually outlined some processes we're going to give everybody on the call on what that is actually should look like for your managed service provider to give a world-class experience, and why your onboarding probably shouldn't just take 15 days. So go ahead and join us on August 8th to have that conversation. Shawn, I want to thank you so much. We wanted to do this for a while, and this was a perfect serendipitous time because you were the right person for this call. Shawn, how can people kind of reach out to you?
LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Call me. I'm easy to find. I'll be at IT Nation for sure, walking around, shaking hands. If anybody ever needs help, feel free to reach out to me. It's just Torres at in-telecom.com. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. If you're trying to find ways to structure packages and ways to do things, I mean, I struggle with that, getting my MSP off the ground. And I'll tell you, don't overthink it. You don't have to overthink it. Focus on your gross margin, Kyle. It's fixed, right? And then go from there. So,
Right on. Well, hey, everybody, we're going to go ahead and end this on time today. Thank you again for everyone that is on the call. We're going to send a recap with the recording, with the prospecting, or not the prospecting sheets, the role play sheets with the deck. It'll be coming from at k7leadership.com. So make sure that is, that gets through your firewalls and your spam filters, guys. And other than that, thank you for your time as always. It's been real.
thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Good day.